The NHL trade deadline is less than 2 months away, and as experts prepare their lists, Islanders players are at or near the top of many of them. We'll break that down for you. Plus, we'll preview tonight's game against Vegas. All that and more on today's Locked On Islanders podcast.
Your Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to the Thursday edition of the Locked On Islanders podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts so you get new episodes as soon as they drop. We've got a lot to discuss on today's show. We will talk about a little change in strategy the Islanders have had and what effect that'll have. We'll talk about the cable problems that a lot of fans are having. But first, the Islanders, well, they're at a crossroads as a franchise. And everydayers, you've heard me speak about how important the next 6 months of the season are going to be for the New York Islanders. And more, we're hearing rumors about different players who might be available and some teams that might be looking to trade other players. And some Islanders, are considered very highly sought after by members of the national media, both in the United States and in Canada. And, just earlier this week on Tuesday, Frank Saravalli of the Daily Faceoff, who is very well connected around the National Hockey League, came out with his list of the most in-demand trade targets in the NHL right now. And that list went through 25 players. And again, 25 guys who are most likely to be targeted. Keep in mind now, we did mention there's 2 months between, little less than 2 months between the March 7th NHL trade deadline and today, but there's also a week and a half break for the Four Nations Faceoff, which is replacing the All-Star game this year. So it's not 8 weeks of hockey. It's really 8.5 weeks of hockey. And that Four Nations tournament, it's going to be interesting, and I think it may affect the decision-making of some general managers because some of these players may be participating in the Four Nations tournament, and you don't want to risk them getting injured in games that don't mean anything in the NHL standings. So out of Frank Saravalli's 25 players that are most likely to be targeted, there are 3, count them, 3 New York Islanders. Now, Elias Pettersson, who we spoke about on the show a couple of days ago of the Vancouver Canucks, he's 25th on this list. 7 years left at $11.6 million. And the fact that I think Vancouver would rather keep him, but certainly has to shop him, all makes sense. Now, the first or the lowest ranked Islander on this list, coming in at number 16, is J.G. Pageau. Pageau, 1 year left on his deal, $5 million cap hit. And here's the thing about Pageau. I don't think anybody has any illusions that J.G. Pageau is an elite player in this league, but he's a very useful player and a very good player. So the thing about Pageau that makes him even more valuable, there's 2 major things. Number one is his skill set. He does a lot of the little things that coaches really like and appreciate. He wins big faceoffs. He's one of the top faceoff men in the league right now. He kills penalties. He's responsible defensively. He can chip in on the second power play. And here's a guy who is on pace for about 18, 19 goals and like 39 points, let's say, for the season. But the other reason that Pageau may be even more in demand than he may otherwise be, there are not a lot of centers available at the trade deadline who are on this list. So, if you're a team, a good team, looking for depth at center, you could do a lot worse than J.G. Pageau. If you need a middle six center, third or fourth line maybe ideally, but second line is still something he's capable of doing. J.G. Pageau definitely could be the fit for you. Is he overpriced at $5 million? Yes, but not horribly based on the fact that he's playing better this season. And there's only 1 year now left on the deal. So all of a sudden, instead of, oh no, there's 2.5 years left on this deal. 1 year plus, a month and a half of regular season after the trade deadline doesn't sound so insurmountable. The laws of supply and demand, the unique skill set, this could be a really good opportunity if the Islanders are seriously intending to retool and get younger, faster, and stronger and more skilled. This is the time to make a J.G. Pageau deal. The next guy on this list, or the next Islanders player, coming in the 13th spot is Kyle Palmieri. Now, Palm's on pace for about 24 goals and 50 points this year. He also has a $5 million salary. But, Palmieri, despite his recent slump, he is playing at a high rate. He had 30 goals last year. He's on pace for about 25 this year. The reason he's actually as low as he is as a right wing is there are a lot of players at that position. Like center, there's a shortage. Right wing, there is maybe many more players available who could fit, and be competition for Palmieri. Palms is in the last year of his deal. It's a $5 million deal. The Islanders, if it means not having to give up a pick or getting a better prospect, don't be afraid to eat some of that $5 million cap hit because it's only for roughly 5-6 weeks. Again, it would make a lot of sense. Palmieri at 33, probably, at some point, the production starts to dip. It would make a lot of sense to move Palmieri, and you certainly cannot lose him for nothing as a free agent. And the number one player on Frank Saravelli's list, the number one player of all trade targets expected to be available at the trade deadline, Islanders center Brock Nelson. Nelson only on pace for 20 goals and 43 points, let's say, this year. But Brock Nelson, final year of his contract, $6 million a year, basically has said that he wants to explore the free agent market. This is his last real chance to cash in on a multi-year high market deal. And, it doesn't make sense if the Islanders are going to do a retool to re-sign Brock Nelson to anything longer than maybe a 2-year deal. And again, his trade value, assuming that age does start to catch up with him at some point, is only going to go down. So if you're an asset if you want to manage your assets to the utmost of your ability, this is the time to trade Brock Nelson. And if the reports are right that Nelson does want to test the free agent market on July 1st, you cannot risk losing Brock Nelson for nothing. And again, if it means if the Islanders have to retain some salary to sweeten the pot, not give up another prospect or a pick, or to get a better return, by all means, go out and do it because, again, this is your opportunity to get maximum return. We've already heard different rumors that Minnesota, Dallas, Toronto, Vancouver, all of these teams may very well be showing some interest in Brock Nelson. Now, look, it could just be they're kicking the tires. The interest may or may not be serious, but Brock Nelson, the top player on Frank Saravelli's board for trade targets around the National Hockey League. By the way, the rest of the top five, Yanni Gourde of Seattle, Taylor Hall of Chicago, Ryan Lindgren of the Rangers, and Dylan Cousins of the Buffalo Sabres, followed by Joel Farabee of Philly and Bowen Byram of Buffalo. So those are the top seven players on the board. It'll be interesting to see what the Islanders do and what Lou Lamoriello does given these set of circumstances. A lot of it is going to depend on how the Islanders play over the next 6 weeks. But, can't afford to lose these guys for nothing, and signing them to anything but a very, very short extension, like 2 years, 3 max, doesn't make a lot of sense. And it doesn't make sense for the players in question to take those kind of short-term deals when this is very likely their last chance to cash in on a long-term deal. All right, we've got more to get to. We're going to talk about a change in strategy for the Islanders. We're going to talk about the cable problems that a lot of fans are going through. We'll preview tonight's game against the Vegas Golden Knights. And for our Islanders' birthday of the day, a defenseman with a difficult-to-spell name who spent 13 games with the Islanders in 2013, 2014 after playing at Lake Superior State. Let's see if you can guess who this undrafted free agent is. We've got all that and a lot more coming up on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by your friends at Game Time. I love going to live events, whether it's sports, music, theater, or comedy. One of my favorite memories was attending a concert last year. The energy and excitement were unforgettable. Now, Game Time has made it even easier to get tickets for your favorite events with their new feature called Game Time Picks. This feature filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Another of my favorite features on the Game Time app is the view from your seat. You go on the app, you get a panoramic view from your seat before you purchase the tickets, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Just download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. So let's start with the cable situation. It is, needless to say, very frustrating for a lot of fans. And it's gotten to the point where, the Islanders' official website actually posted an article saying how Optimum subscribers can continue to watch the Islanders. And, basically, if you have Optimum, Altice, which is the parent company of Optimum, has not reached a new agreement with MSG Network as of January 1st. That means your Islanders, your other two local hockey teams, your Knicks games, all of those not available. So the advice, and it's, not very helpful advice, but the advice given by the Islanders official website, which of course is overseen by the NHL, either find a new cable provider or download the Gotham Sports app. Now, of course, you have to pay for the Gotham Sports app if you want to actually watch live games. So, it's another way to do it, but it doesn't necessarily guarantee anything. Look, here you have a situation where you have, the multimillionaire owners of cable companies and the multimillionaire people who own MSG Network fighting over money, and the big loser is the fans. So I would have to simply say, and I think I speak for most fans, I don't take sides in this dispute. I just want to watch my hockey games, and I don't want my rates to go up. There are alternatives if you want to cut the cord and go streaming, and I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to advertise for any of these companies. All I can say is, as frustrating as the Islanders have been to watch at times this season because of their inconsistent play, the fact that this, that fans who thought they were paying for cable services that guaranteed that they'd be able to watch the games now cannot watch the games only fuels the fire. It's not good for the Islanders, I could tell you that right now, and it's definitely not good for the fans. So here we go. We'll keep an eye on the situation, and hopefully it gets resolved soon. The good news is these things almost always do get resolved. The bad thing is, when and how long will it take? So we'll keep an eye on that situation, and I share your frustrations as fans. One other thing that the Islanders are doing a little bit differently, and Patrick Roy kind of confirmed this, they want their defensemen to shoot the puck more often. They did that more in the win over Boston. It didn't result in a lot of shots on goal, but it kind of did help the team keep the puck in the offensive zone a little bit more. And Patrick Roy basically told the New York Post, that's what we want. More than this, we want bodies in front of the net, try to take the eyes, make sure the goalie can't see the puck, basically. And if we throw it behind the net, we know we're going to have possession of the puck. So I really thought we did a nice job in that regard. So again, the Islanders are looking for more offense from their defensive core, even if it's not going to show up necessarily in the box score. You may not look at that box score from the Boston game and say, oh yeah, the defensemen had so many more shots on goal than they typically do. But they had more shot attempts. And we all know how many of those shots go wide. But as Wayne Gretzky said, you don't score on 100% of the shots you don't take. That's number one. And then number two, you can get tips, deflections, rebounds. You could screen the goalie. You can get possession of the puck behind the net. And as Islander fans know only too well, when the Islanders are in their own zone, very often you can get the other team to make a mistake and have, get them out of position, whether it's two guys chasing the puck behind the net or somebody coming open. So the hope, the belief behind this is increase puck possession, take more shots, get more scoring, and it encourages the forwards to go into the dirty areas, to screen the goalies. Anders Lee typically does that better than any other Islander player. They need more guys to do it. You've heard Patrick Roy tell Pierre Engvall, hey, go to the net, shoot the puck, get in those dirty areas. More players have to do it. I want to see Maxim Siplikov do it more often. We have got to see more of that from Kyle Palmieri, Bo Horvat, J.G. Pageau. Really, most of the forwards would benefit from playing that kind of game. Anthony Duclair, too, for sure. Let's see how long the Islanders continue to do this and what, if any, impact it will have going forward. They did score a lot against Boston in that game, 5 goals, including the overtime game winner. Maybe, just maybe, this can unlock a little bit more of the scoring potential. Look, you still got to finish. We all know how big of a problem this team has with finishing, but it's something Patrick Waugh wants to see, and hopefully we will see more of it. We have got more to get to on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. We'll preview tonight's game against a rather infrequent opponent, the Vegas Golden Knights. 10 o'clock Eastern time start, so our show will not make its usual YouTube premiere at midnight. It'll probably go about 45 minutes after the game ends. So, again, I'll put it out on X/Twitter to let you know when I have a better idea of what time we will be premiering on YouTube. And also, I will be live tweeting even on these late starts. All right, we've got that preview, plus our Islanders birthday of the day, and more coming up on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by your friends at FanDuel. From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are just better with FanDuel. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. The FanDuel app gives you everything you need for live bets, same-game parlays, and so much more. And Islander fans, you could use your knowledge of the game of hockey and the Islanders to find some exciting opportunities at FanDuel. Check out the odds for tonight's game against Vegas. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Thank you for making Locked On Islanders your first listen today. For your second listen, find Locked On Fantasy Hockey. Become a fantasy hockey expert and get the edge over your league mates with daily tips from Steal and Flip. Find Locked On Fantasy Hockey on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Islanders, Vegas Golden Knights, 10 o'clock Eastern time start in Vegas. Hate to say it, but the Golden Knights are hot again. 3 straight wins, 4 out of 5. They are winning consistently and well. They are in first place by 6 points in the competitive Pacific Division, and this is a well-balanced team. How well-balanced? They're third in the league in goals scored. They're third in the league in goals allowed. They're sixth in the league on the power play, 25% conversion rate. And they're 20th in the league on the PK. Yeah, that's their big weakness. And that's at almost 78% on the PK. Aiden Hill is their starting goalie. He is 17-6-2 on the year. A 2.58 goals against, a 9.04 save percentage. Ilya Samsonov is the backup, 11-3-1, a 2.65 goals against, a 9.07 save percentage. Jack Eichel right now leading the team in assists with 42 in 40 games. He has 53 points. Ivan Barbashev and Brett Howden tied for the team lead with 14 goals each. Pavel Dorofeyev has 14 goals right behind them. Looking at the line combinations, it's Jack Eichel, Tanner Pearson, and Mark Stone on the top trio, followed by William Karlsson, Tomas Hertl, and Pavel Dorofeyev. That's the second line. Brett Howden centers Victor Olofsson and Keegan Colasar on the third line. And the fourth line is Cole Schwindt centering Jonas Rondenberg and Alexander Holtz. On the blue line, Noah Hannafin and Alex Pietrangelo are the top pair. Braden McNabb and Shea Theodore, the middle pair. Nicholas Haig and Zach Whitecloud, the third pair. In goal, as we mentioned, Hill and Samsonov. Ben Hutton, Ivan Barbashev, Nicholas Roy, all on IR. Doubtful they are back for this game. Now, their last game was on Tuesday night when they went out and beat the San Jose Sharks by a score of 4-2. And in that game, it was Samsonov in goal. So it is very likely that we see Adin Hill in this game for the Vegas Golden Knights. Vegas, they are skilled, they are fast, they are big, and the Islanders will have their hands full. You know, it was interesting because Patrick Waugh was asked whether or not this was a measuring stick game, and he refused to say that. He based it on where the Islanders were in the standings, and he said, you know, if we win this game, I don't want anyone to think that everything is okay, and if we lose, you don't want to obviously get too demoralized because, you know, going on the road to Vegas is quite simply not an easy task for any NHL team. And, you know, you look at the home road split for the Golden Knights this year, and they are 17-4-0 at home this year, 11-5-3 on the road. They've won 9 out of their last 10. This is a darn good hockey team playing really good hockey as of late, so the challenge is definitely there for the New York Islanders. Time now for our Islanders birthday of the day. And today is the 34th birthday of former Islanders defenseman Kevin Churchman. Churchman, a native of Port Elgin, Ontario, 6'3", 195 pounds. He was an undrafted college free agent, spent 3 years at Lake Superior State University up in Michigan's Upper Peninsula, and then signed as a free agent with the Islanders to finish out the 2013-2014 season. Played in 13 games with the Islanders, had 2 assists, 14 penalty minutes, and then spent the next season with Bridgeport before beginning a tour of the AHL. Played for Manitoba, Wilkes-Barre, Scranton, played 2 games for the Penguins in 2021, and then left to play in Europe. He's still active right now, playing in Czechia for Litvinov HC for the last 2 seasons. He has 3 goals and 8 points in 30 games this year for that club in Europe. One of his better games as an Islander, March 25th, 2014, Islanders visiting the Carolina Hurricanes in this game. Anders Nielsen, the Islanders goalie, Cam Ward, and Anton Khudobin both got into this game for the Hurricanes, and the Islanders jumped out in the first 11 minutes of this game to a 4-0 lead, 2 goals by Colin McDonald, 1 each for Cal Clutterbuck and Matt Martin. It was that 4th goal by Matty Martz that Churchman assisted on. Thomas Hickey also got an assist on that one. But Matt Martin ended up scoring an insurance goal with 3 minutes and 3 seconds left. Islanders gave up a late goal, but held on for the 5-4 win. And our Islanders birthday of the day, Kevin Churchman, he had an assist. He was a +1. He had 6 penalty minutes, and he had 1 shot on goal while being on the ice for 14 minutes and 47 seconds. Bonus to you if you knew that Churchman was spelled Czuzman. But we wish Kevin Churchman a very happy birthday. He is our Islanders birthday of the day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Everydayers, we are back tomorrow. We'll have our key takeaways from tonight's game against Vegas, and we will preview Saturday's game in Utah. That is a 9 o'clock Eastern time start, and it's the very first time that the Islanders are visiting Salt Lake City for a game against the Utah Hockey Club. So a little history being made as well. If you have a question, a comment, maybe a topic you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, shoot us an email at lockedonislanders@gmail.com. And if you leave your first name and where you're from, we're happy to mention you on the show when we discuss whatever's on your mind. You could also follow the show on X at Locked On Isles, and you could follow me, Gil Martin, on X at Ice Wars, NYR VSNYI. We'll keep you up to date on all things Islanders all year long, and I am live tweeting during nearly every Islanders home and road game. So join me for some instant insight and analysis. And it's always great to talk a little Islanders hockey with you, game time or anytime. Have a great day, everybody. Stay safe. And of course, let's go Islanders.